Okay, right back here now. Looking at the energy pyramid. We've got our food chain represented, got our trophic levels, always starting at the bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and label what I just said in the last video, autotrophs. Meaning they are producers, meaning they make their own food, meaning all these guys that live down here right now, it's just the grass, they do photosynthesis. All right. Who eats producers? Heterotrophs. All these guys are heterotrophs. So the grasshopper's heterotroph, frog's heterotroph, snake's heterotroph, hawk is a heterotroph. And we know that because the first level of consumer, which is at the second trophic level, the primary consumer, we know that because the primary consumer eats the producers, primary consumers have to be herbivores. Now, this is a simple triangle, easy to write or draw, but if you happen to have a printer, I did include the link if you like following along, you know, just like we're in class like a few weeks ago. These guys are the herbivores, the grasshoppers. These guys are going to be carnivores or omnivores. All right, so far maybe just a couple new words, but not too much that knocks your socks off, if you know what I'm saying. What I want to talk about now are the scavengers, decomposers, because where are they on here? They don't really fit in a trophic level. And then I want to talk about energy transfer. All right, first things first. Where'd my green go? I can't find it. All right, we'll just stick with this one then. All living things end up dying. And the scavengers and the decomposers come in with the death of all of these other members of the ecosystem. Oh, I picked up red. Look at that. Let me not pick up red this second because I want to save that. Come back to this one. Hawk, he's going to die. Snake at one point's going to die. Frog's going to die. Grasshopper's going to die. Even the grass dies. So this whole like movement off the pyramid represents death. Okay, and then what happens is that there's another group of organisms that either feed on these dead, leftover, kind of decaying living things, scavengers. Sorry, can't see that. And then the scavengers, they end up dying too, and they get eaten by the decomposers. You actually can't say the decomposers eat. I mean, have you ever seen a fungus with teeth? So it's kind of ridiculous, right? So the decomposers don't eat the scavengers, but the decomposers take what happens when the scavengers die, as well as take what happens that the scavengers don't really get to from these dying organisms, and they return those molecules to the soil. And those molecules end up being taken up by future generations of producers, which I could also call autotrophs, right? So the decomposers separate the biomolecules, returning them to the soil. The soil becomes nice and rich thanks to the decomposers. Things like fungi, like you said, earthworms even, they're decomposers. They're in the animal kingdom, but the soil then becomes rich and the new generations of producers live off that. Now we're going to switch to talk a little bit about energy, because most of you put that you did not really get a lot of clarity on the 10% rule. So everything I outline here in this red color is going to be related to the 10% rule. So you know that the energy required for photosynthesis comes directly from the sun. And just for like convenience purposes, I'm going to pick a number, and it's going to be a number that's easy to interpret with the 10% rule. I'm going to say that in this model ecosystem, that 10,000 units of energy get captured by the sun in this population of grass, and they're going to get stored in the grass as energy that can be eaten by who? The grasshopper. You guys get it? So if there's 10,000 units of energy available in the grass that have been put there through the process of photosynthesis, the amount that actually gets into the bodies of the grasshopper is only 10% of that. So I'm going to put here 1,000, because 1,000 is 10% of 10,000. 1,000 units are now available in the biomass of the grasshopper. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a little ridiculous. Like, how can there only be 10% of the energy transferred? And it goes on. So this is only going to be 100. This is only going to be 10 snakes. And then the hawks are going to have 1 unit of energy compared to the original 10,000, right? So this is just a made-up number. But I'm telling you, these energy losses at each energy transfer between the trophic levels are amazing. Like, they're huge. So we got 9,000 units of energy that are lost, because 1,000 went up and got stored in the biomass of the grasshopper. Then when this grasshopper gets eaten by the frog can only incorporate 100 of those initial energy units into its body. So this is kind of confusing, right? So the next question is going to be, why only 10%? Like, what's going on down here that causes 9,000 units to be, what I say, lost? Well, got a couple answers for you. What does the grass have to do to stay alive? Oh my gosh, it's got to perform cellular respiration. Why? It's got to maintain its own homeostasis, and that requires ATP. And aside from just homeostasis, we got to have growth, we got to have reproduction, we got to have active transport, we got to have all the processes necessary for life. So what we're saying is, if the grass captures 10,000 units of energy and puts it in its biomass, it's going to use a lot of that own biomass for its own needs. So we can't really say it was lost. We just say it wasn't moved on to the ecosystem. This is my cat trying to butt in. I'm just going to let her. She didn't feel so well today, so she's got an obsession with markers and pens and pencils. Kind of weird. The other thing you know is that cellular respiration is not very efficient, and a lot of the energy in food is lost as heat. So this is a true loss, whereas this up here, like, you know, it's necessary to maintain the life of those producers. And then the other portion of the loss is going to be in the animal or plant waste, or the stuff that dies that never gets eaten. All right, so that's going to apply to this trophic level as well. 1,000 units of energy. Maya, come on. I'm going to pet her, okay? 1,000 units of energy here. Only 100 go up and are available to the frog. That's because 900 units of energy were like dissipated in this ecosystem because those units of energy had to maintain the grasshopper had to maintain its homeostasis, had to allow the grasshopper to grow, reproduce, get on with its life. And some of the grasshoppers, guess what? They died. They never got eaten. I mean, eventually they will, right? Maybe by a scavenger. My point is, much of the energy that's available at each trophic level does not move on to the next trophic level. So that explains the shape of this model, which is a pyramid. And what that does, here she really likes the red pen, see? What that does is demonstrate to you, the learner, that in any ecosystem, you got to have way more producers. Way more producers than you have primary consumers. And you got to have way more primary consumers than you have secondary consumers as you go up. So if you look at a standard ecosystem, the top predator, the hawk, there can only be like a handful of hawks when you compare it to the volume of producers, of photosynthesizing organisms down here. Otherwise, ecosystem collapses. All right, y'all. Gosh, I went on for too long. I'm going to give you another video tomorrow about symbiosis and commensalism and all those other vocab words. That'll be week 3. But I hope you're doing well. I miss you, and hopefully this was somewhat laughable, you know, like hopefully you were able to get a break from an otherwise inside day. All right. Peace out. We will talk soon.